Hey, just a reminder, I got live comedy shows coming up in Cardiff and Newport, Wales, July 8th and 9th, and of course the Edinburgh Fringe Festival all of August. ColtCabana.com to get some details. You're going to enjoy those shows, but for now, enjoy this show.
This is The Art of Wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana.
All right, how you guys doing? Come on in. Sit down, relax. You're about to listen to The Art of Wrestling, professional wrestling podcast. It's a life podcast. It's personal journals and entryways into the minds and souls, the hearts and lives of the people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I am your host. My name is Colt Cabana. I saw that place in Seattle on MTV where they throw the fish and the very first Starbucks ever. And I was going to Instagram story it like it was a joke, like I saw a celebrity. And then when I did it, I realized people would think I was real. Like I was really caring that I saw Starbucks in Seattle. So I scratched it, dropped it on the editing table. Where was I in this opening spiel? Oh yeah, I'm a Seattle fish market goer. I'm a comedian. I'm a podcaster. Most importantly, though, I am a professional wrestler. And I am sitting here live in my studio apartment in Chicago, Illinois. Before we go any further, this is a fan supported and listener supported podcast supported by people just like you. We give it to free of charge every single Thursday. ColtCabana.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts from. A couple great ways that you can support, rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Tell a friend, tweet it out, Facebook it out. Best way that you can support, though, ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com, t-shirts, buttons, pictures, posters, DVDs, wrestling road diaries, micro brawlers, lapel pins, little adorable keychains. It's all available. ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry that I have a Canadian on the podcast this week. I am sorry that I claimed I was some kind of comedian and I'm doing shitty Canadian impersonations. For those of you longtime listeners, you remember Tyson Dux on the very first year of The Art of Wrestling. If you are not a longtime listener, of course, you can go to howl.fm/Colt. Use the code Colt. You'll get yourself a free month. You can listen to that podcast done all the way back in 2010 when we were on the tour of Iqaluit in Nunavut, Canada, the very, 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 very top of Canada, the highest part of Canada. We wrestled in front of the Inuits, and then we podcasted it. And that point, Tyson's story was a story about a guy who had been trying and just couldn't make a break for the life of him. We really dove into being an extra, getting hurt while being an extra, almost being signed. Everybody in the WWE, including Stephanie, knowing exactly who he was and thinking that he was on the roster. Fast forward 7 years later, and he finally kind of gets a little bit of a break. In his late 30s, he becomes one of the stars in the Cruiserweight Classic on the network, and he allegedly is not able to cross into the U.S. border anymore. That's a real bummer. And how do you cope with that? And he'll talk about experience, and he'll talk about the whole thing. It's a fresh one after 7 years. It's great to have Tyson on. A real pro, a real friend, great dude, great Canadian, great wrestler. Tyson Dux is on the show this week. Hey, I'm doing a show this week. It's called Breaking the Barrier, and it's in Old Forge, Pennsylvania. If you aren't there, you can watch it live on powerbomb.tv, and you can watch it for free. They got a free 10-day trial up. I'm wrestling Orange Cassidy. Should be as silly as it sounds. I did wrestle last week, too. I had 2 shows for ROH. I did commentary for Ring of Honor. At the Chicago show, I busted out my commentary suit, or my commentary biz cash, or my commentary jeans and a shirt I bought at Walmart, and went right to the ring. Had myself a little match in front of my hometown fans. Love wrestling at that Chicago Ridge building. And before that, I was in Seattle, and I want to tell you about 3-2-1 Battle. And I even just like saying 3-2-1 Battle. I had watched the movie, The Revenge of the Banana. I'd become familiar with the wrestlers like Ronald McFondle and Eddie Van Glam. I went there. I did a commentary. I went around town. I saw Seattle a little bit. I even went into KISW, the radio station in Seattle. And while I was there, I jumped on the podcast with Steve Miggs. He does the podcast Miggs versus the World of Wrestling. And we were talking about some of the weird places I've wrestled, which includes Nunavut, where I podcasted originally with Tyson Dux, but also at a fat camp. And a subject came up that I had always kind of wanted to talk about on here, and for me, it was a little weirder to just talk to myself in my apartment about it. So I'm going to steal the audio from Miggs versus the World of Wrestling, which you can listen to on iTunes, and bring up something that's been on my mind. You have to be sensitive
Of course.
To these kids. Yeah. So, I mean, in wrestling, and I've thought about this a lot lately too, is that like, even in regular shows, we'll be like, shut up, fatty. I saw it the other day. And you know, when I was 20, like that's what we did to get heat, quote unquote. And like as a 37-year-old, I saw someone call someone a fatty and like kind of hurt my heart because I felt for this fan. Like, oh, we're kind of, I know body shaming and all that stuff is like, oh, it's PC, blah, 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 but it's like, I wouldn't want to go to a show and probably maybe like really be insensitive about like being big and then it just being spotlighted.
Yeah. And there's more creative ways to
correct
to have some fun at somebody's expense. Where
so I'd like to see that change in wrestling, to be honest. And maybe, you know, maybe I can help. I'm not sure. But yeah, we wrestled at this was called Camp Shane. Camp Shane. It was like known on MTV because they did like a reality show there. And yeah, I knew one of the counselors that was there, and he scammed them to put on a wrestling show. and we wrestled at a fat camp. Matt Stryker was there. Kurt Hawkins wrestled on the show.
Okay, I'm back in the apartment. Also, I don't even know if you're allowed to call it fat camp anymore. That's probably wrong, right? Even in this moment of me trying to do right, trying to be right, be on the right side of history, I think that's another teachable moment. Another teachable moment. It's probably not called fat camp anymore. I mean, you don't have to correct me. I'll just go on Wikipedia right when I'm done recording, but you get the idea. But I think that is something that we need to change in wrestling. And there was a fan in Seattle who came up to me and emailed me later and talked about the difficulties of just being different and how much wrestling and the wrestling community can help somebody fit in, which is something that's helped me for almost 2 decades now. And hopefully it helps you too. And if you got stuff that I'm missing, send a tweet, send an email, let me know. Teachable moments. Always looking to change for the better, and so should wrestling. All right, we do have a song of the week this week, and it's brought to you by ProperCloth.com, custom fit shirts. And it's never been easier to order thanks to Proper Cloth. Finding a dress shirt that fits, it's super hard. Collars are tight, sleeves are too long. You know what I'm talking about. You go to the store and they just got these generic made shirts. Well, now 10 easy, foolproof questions at propercloth.com and you create your own custom shirt in seconds. I answered the questions and I weirdly had like a real good time doing it. And now I got myself 2 custom fit shirts that I can wear in the new commentating role. Proper Cloth has over 500 fabric styles to choose from, including premium Italian and Japanese fabrics, as well as business and casual styles, starting at $85. Pretty cheap. Plus, there's a guaranteed fit, so if it doesn't fit you, they'll remake it for free, and I'll also get you $20. I'll tell you about it in a second. They're the highest rated custom shirt maker on Google. Even GQ calls them their favorite online custom shirt maker. I'm not talking about MTV True Life's GQ Masters III. I'm talking about the GQ that everybody knows. All right, stop wearing shirts that don't fit. Start looking your very best with custom fitted shirts. $20 I'm going to save you by going to propercloth.com/Colt. Get that $20 off. Get yourself a custom fit shirt. Propercloth.com/Colt. Song of the week this week was sent to me by @3Billy on Instagram, and it's by his friend who sadly has passed away, and he wrote a song a couple years ago that's perfect for this podcast and for the song of the week. It's The Musician is Doug Holland. Rest in peace. You can always check out his stuff, dougthesecond.bandcamp.com. Here's Indie Dream Match. And thanks again, Billy, for sending this along. We'll be back with Tyson Dux.
9 o'clock at night, and I'm glued to the television, watching the same old Monday Night Raw again. We know everything, ain't supposed to know. Hell, we could have practically booked ourselves this show. This how it go. Colt Cabana wins the dark match. Ross comes out and he tips his hat. Live from the studio apartment, it's the Boomer Sooner. And it's time to play the game. We want to take wrestling back with an indie dream match. We're gonna take pro wrestling back with an indie dream match.
My microphone is bent?
Yeah, it's bent, isn't it? It's dented in.
It is, but that's the sign of a true... I feel it. I feel like it's put miles on this microphone.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Miles.
These podcasting mics have been through a lot,
Right.
And they're dented. I don't think these need to be perfectly spherical.
Well, in my OCD head, they do.
Do you have
It's just
OCD?
A little bit.
I'm
Like me and Rhino are the only two that can room together for the simple fact that we don't drive each other crazy.
You know, do people know about Rhino's OCD?
I don't know if they do. They do now, right?
I wonder if it's come forth. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
an interesting rumor with her.
Right. He's perfect.
What's his quirks?
Well, first of all,
And also, do you like how I said quirks and not what drives you crazy about him?
right. I love it. What does he do? Okay. We can't have housekeeping come in to a room. So if we're staying there over an extended period of time, no housekeeping. And we have to make sure that our beds are made and properly done. And it became a competition where we'd actually make the beds.
Wait, as a man with OCD, wouldn't he want this stuff clean? Or he's taking it amongst himself?
No,
to clean?
it's no. Everybody else is filthy, so he's going to clean it. Yeah.
He doesn't trust the house cleaning.
No,
to
he
clean
doesn't.
it.
Absolutely not. So anything around,
And he has to clean the hotel. He has to make the hotel bed.
he has to make his bed. And
Even
so
in the hotel.
I would make my bed, and he would make his bed, and we'd have a competition to see who can make the best housekeeper, I guess, right? Who is successful at being a housekeeper? And usually we would wreck each other's, and it would, listen, you turn the corner on his blanket when it's made, he loses his mind.
And you do it for fun.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But what's your OCD?
I'm a little bit on the clean side.
Is it diagnosed or is it self-diagnosed?
No, self-diagnosed. I don't got time to go to no doctors and for them to actually put me through this rigmarole.
Yeah, well, I've self-diagnosed myself with ADD amongst some anxiety and some other stuff.
Right.
But I don't know if it's real. And dyslexia, I think. Because I mix up my words a lot, which have become to be known as Cabanaisms. And someone said that might be a thing of dyslexia.
It could be.
Which sounds right.
Yeah, it does.
You think we'd just go get some of the stuff checked out.
Well, why would you? If you can self-diagnose it, you know it.
I kind of feel that way.
I feel that
But
way,
the Canadian system, you could do whatever you want for free.
I don't know. That's not always the case. It takes forever. That's the part of having a socialist reform or government set up. It takes forever.
If you want in, you got to pay up.
You have to pay.
Yeah. Do you pay premiums?
Absolutely not. I pay no premiums.
You don't have time for
No,
that.
I got no time for
You got like 9 kids now. Did you have another kid?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I sent you that picture. He's 4 months now. He's 4 months old.
I don't think you did send me a picture.
I did send you a picture.
Maybe you did. Maybe
I
that's
did
why
with
I
a
said it.
Hanukkah sticker on his chest.
Yes.
Because I wasn't going to afford an actual shirt, so I sent you my first Hanukkah.
Oh,
That's what I sent you.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And at what age are we now?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, of course. 38.
38.
38.
I guess that's not in wrestling. That's weird. Old to have a kid.
Yes.
But in real life, that's normal.
it is kind of normal.
But you had a kid at so young.
Yeah, really young. But both my two older boys are quite a bit older now.
Right.
So the gap is extreme. So it's 16, 14, and now 4 months.
How are you? Are you prepared for this? Did you feel like it was done? But you obviously
Yeah.
you wanted to have a kid with your
Yeah.
wife.
Well, that was kind of the questionnaire, I guess, as it were. You know, like because I'm so much older than her, that would I be willing to have children with her? And
Ooh.
yeah. And I'm like, of course, I can't like not give you children if that's what you want. So
That's true love.
that is true love.
We'll give you a
It's called
child.
sacrifice.
I know it from that WrestleMania song.
You're damn right.
Your sacrifice, my sacrifice. Yeah, so we did a podcast that got lost
Yes, in Newfoundland.
in Newfoundland.
Yeah.
I would say 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
And between that and you were on one of the very first episodes, well, maybe the first half a year.
Yeah.
I don't know what we've covered and what we haven't. So we can just bullshit.
Yeah, because we know each other now.
We knew each other then. In Newfoundland.
Newfoundland, but we didn't know each other on the first one. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. That's the one that everybody knows. Is like, hey, I'm Colt. Hey, I'm Tyson.
Did we introduce each other on
We
the podcast?
kinda did.
Let's become friends.
Right. Yeah, kind of.
And what happened? Our Newfoundland promotion has gone south.
Oh, it's not only gone south.
It's gone
it is-
east.
Yeah, it's gone a whole lot of different directions.
Oh, man.
Except successful. It's not successful.
I mean, they don't run it all anymore.
No,
right?
they're done. They're done.
That's kind of sad.
It is kind of sad.
Have you done that's kind of I guess I don't know if that's a thing in my career is where like you get on these places and they start booking you and you like know you have that booking for like anywhere from like 6 to 20 months.
Right.
And then it goes away. And like, if you look at it in the scope of big things, you're like, that's my work. But then like, I don't know what I'm going to do if that closes down or what would I do? Because nobody else is coming after me. But then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, something else just comes up, doesn't it?
It
kind of seems to be the way
it goes, right? So it gets hot and cold. So we try to get in while it's hot.
Like, what are the other ones that have popped up? Do you like can you put a finger on things that have like, besides that Newfoundland tour, those tours, were there other random tours that were popping up?
There was a lot of work out on the East Coast scene, like over the northeast of Canada, but it's all kind of...
Which would be where?
Like Newfoundland and New Brunswick and Nova Scotia and stuff like that, but it's kind of drying up again, where they're just pulling... I don't know, you just pull in so many guys and you try to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually the bubble has to pop.
You feel it's drying up?
Yeah, I feel so.
Do you think... Because Canada was always known as a little tour place, right?
Yes.
Is it? It's not known as that as much, right? Does that guy still do those death tours?
Oh yes, those still go down, but those are so remote, and like there's no media, there's no internet, there's no really anything. It's just reservation after reservation. That it's really, if you're trying to get out there and get your name out there, it's good for kids that are new that need experience, but it's not for guys that are.
And also, there's no like you can't do your internet up there, probably, right?
You can't do anything up there.
So if it was 1998 and the idea that we didn't have cell phones and we were just reading magazines and books anyways, that's fine.
Yeah.
But nowadays, hey, I need to be on my Instagram at all times.
Exactly. And
And then you're going to take me away from that for 2.5 weeks?
I imagine that.
Right? Because there's no access to it.
There's no access. Well, I did it in '98. I was doing those.
Were you?
Yeah. Like,
what was that guy's name?
Edge and Christian were on those ones just before they got signed, and I was with them on their last tour.
Really?
Yeah.
What was that guy's name again? Is it
Tony Candello?
Yes. So you were on were they talking about like getting contracts while doing that thing?
No, they were actually signed. That was their last tour. They were going to move up.
So were you in awe of these guys?
Not really.
No. Just dudes.
Just dudes, right? They're just cool dudes with really long hippie hair, and I thought they were good guys, but I didn't see any. Like I didn't even. Wrestling to me was so different. Than it is now. Like the knowledge base back then wasn't the same. So we're just wrestlers on wrestling shows. I'm trying to gain experience. I'm trying to do my own thing. I have no idea what their developmental system was or anything.
But like I'll put it in terms of like for me, Adam Pearce was a guy who was kind of like a year older than me, had been doing it a couple of years more. And we would do some traveling on the road. And then I remember he got like signed to WCW or he had been offered a WCW deal. And just like immediately it goes from like being a contemporary to be like in awe of this guy.
Right.
Because for me at that age, it just seemed so far away that like that would never.
Right.
I would never be that. But holy shit, I know a guy who's in the same system who's now going to go do that.
Yeah, I got you. But that's where my brain is kind of weird because I'm always about the wrestling side of it. And maybe that's what's always kind of hindered me is I'm always about matches and wrestling and work and that stuff. And I've always put the back seat to characters and TV and all this stuff, which has probably been my greatest flaw, right, in this business, because I'm all about the small details. So instead of doing something cool that 2,000, 3,000 people will view nowadays, I like to do little stuff where I'm bending or, moving out of something different and, reality based.
You get off more on a stupid wrestling hold as opposed to me who would like do something viral. Like filming something who can't wait to put it on YouTube.
Yeah, I get over on I love like little subtleties in wrestling, and I'm like those little things, and then that no one else sees that.
Where does that? Because that has to come from somewhere, and usually comes in our training or somebody who's comes from some kind of influence.
Right.
I don't think it comes from just you being 15 and being like, I love those subtleties.
Right. Yeah, because when I was a kid, I liked all of wrestling. I loved Hulk Hogan. I loved even Lex Luger.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if you watch Lex Luger now, and I have nothing against him, man. Like, great, did great career. But like, for me to watch a Luger match, I'm like, oh
Right.
God, because there's no refinery or anything to his techniques. There's
had,
no
like,
technical
A
prowess.
15-year career.
Right.
Made so much money.
Yes.
So much money.
So much money, so successful, more successful than I'll ever be in this business.
Right.
And I still can't I can't watch it. I can't grasp it because it just doesn't compute.
Yeah.
It doesn't compute for
Well,
me.
where is it just from being trained or like being told to watch these specific people?
I think so. And I think it's a little part of me. I think that's what it is.
What do you mean?
Like, do you remember my favorite movie as a kid was Bloodsport?
Love Bloodsport.
Love Bloodsport.
Now, do we have the same? I'll tell you my reason for why I love Bloodsport.
Do it. Throw it.
And you can come back with. So
I think, before you start,
Okay.
I think this is where we're going to see the example is right here. I guarantee it's right here.
our similarities or the reason you like little things.
Yeah, or the difference between our process. Right?
Okay, Bloodsport. So professional wrestling was my obsession as a child.
Me too.
And Bloodsport, it was like this almost movie like pro wrestling with all these different characters, much like the WWF, Junkyard Dog and Mr. Wonderful. But now all of a sudden this was like in movie form with a fighting tournament that had the monkey guy and the guy who moved his pecs and
Sumo guy.
who's that sumo guy who bear hugged the monkey guy?
Yeah, right.
Him. And then Chung Lee and Ogre and Jean-Claude. It was just like all these different characters. And there's something about diversity of characters with simulation of fighting that I was super into. And that's why I love Bloodsport. And I love the idea of a tournament to see like who the better one was. Like there was so many people, and then there was like you get to know who was better. Like there's a definitive answer,
Right.
And it's Jean-Claude Van Damme, obviously. Spoiler.
Always JCVD. Always JCVD. And that's.
Are we on the same page or no?
Yeah, totally on the same
Or
page.
what was your point? But what?
But while other people were watching, like, so they watched that movie, and then they see the high kicks and the spin kicks and all this stuff, and the Jean-Claude's amazing acting skills. What I loved about it was the one scene that I would replay as a kid. So on the VCR, wore the tape out, was him against that kickboxer where they Paco, which I love Paco, and they were doing the kicks to the ribs, and then just that subtle, you could see Paco in there actually sell it, where it's like, oh my God, he's fighting him at his own game, and then he just kept attacking the ribs, and then they had that standoff where JC finally won. We won and won, and then just that's how
they're going at the same time,
right?
And then he gets more,
and just keeps popping them off. And there's something about, I guess it's strong style too. I guess it's always been with me. I guess I don't know. I like
so
that.
you saw the psychology of it,
yeah,
at 8,
right?
but you didn't know
and I didn't even realize it. But that's why I love that movie. I love the little things about it.
And then when who trained you again? I forget.
It's a couple guys, but like Joe Legend started, and then Terry Taylor and Scott D'Amore kind of finished me up.
Okay, but so I would say, I just remember my trainers being like, "Here's who you got to watch," and they would say like, "Watch some Boogie Woogie and stuff like that," and that's where. But I remember the first tapes I ever went. I went to this RF video stand in Gurney Mills,
nice.
And I was like, "Well, I got to pick up these videos because," and like I got like a Malenko and a Liger,
nice,
and so like it all, like. It all depends. And then I studied that for like, that's all I watched. Because, it was weird. As smart as I was as a kid, like I wasn't in on the tape trading circuit. I didn't know about that stuff. So these were kind of my first like smart kind of tapes.
Right.
And it wasn't like me being 13. It was me being 19 or 18.
Right.
Yeah. And so, but then all of a sudden they're like, this is why you're watching it. And then you see these meticulous reasons. But I think a lot of it has to do with that influence of who's ever telling you to.
Yeah, I think so too. I was never ever told who to watch because I'm Canadian, I guess they assumed if you were watching like a Brett or an Owen or a Chris Benoit or somebody like that, and always well, like when I was in high school and stuff, Benoit was my guy. So I think they just left me alone. They like never said, "Hey, watch Arn and Tully do this and how they work a tag match." They never said that.
Does that make you mad, or it's assumed that you know who's good because you like Bret Owen?
No, I think it was just because I was such a diehard Benoit guy. They never really said, "Hey, study tapes." They would just show me what to do. Like Joe would show me what to do, work with it, and I'm like, "How does Benoit do?" It was always like, "How does he do this?
Yeah.
How does he do this?" So that's kind of where it came from.
And Joe wasn't on that tour, those Canadian tours.
No, but he was on a couple of the Canadian, not the Winnipeg ones, but the other ones, the Ontario-based ones, and he was on a couple with me as well.
Okay.
Like, help me with those.
Okay, so last time we talked a little about, and we'll talk a little bit about your. Well, I don't know. Do you talk publicly about that? Your horrific.
My experience.
Yeah.
You know what? I will talk like at length about it. I did. Oh my God. I do got to talk to you about that Uprocks interview. So I did this podcast with these kids, and Uprocks took from the podcast everything and twisted it.
The worst.
Oh my God.
It's one of the reasons I started this podcast, because that happened to me in the UK.
Is that really?
Like, it was some asshole in the UK, and like I did this interview, and then just the title was Colt Cabana says WWE is ignorant and pieces of shit, basically. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, we had this nice conversation, and like maybe I said that, and like, as I don't know, even it was just taken so out of context.
Right. And the same thing happened to me, because Uprocks loaded all this stuff, and then I talked to Dillinger about it. He said, dude, because Owens is the first one to message me the next day. He read it, and then he says, dude, you can't tell them stuff like that.
Right.
And then I went like, what is going on? Because I had no idea. So Uprocks had done the report, so a write-up on it, and showed all this stuff. And then...
What do you mean?
So... It said that I couldn't do. It seemed like I was disgruntled about my experience. That I wanted to I couldn't do a move, and they also said I was throwing people. Like, I wasn't throwing anybody in the bus, but it seems like I was like mad at other people that could do what they wanted to do. In no way, shape, or form. It was like the most positive thing ever. If anything, I was defending the company for certain things. Because these kids would ask me about, like, could you, because they don't want to know they want to know the backstage stuff, and I wasn't going to really give it to them, but I was telling them, enlightening them a wee bit on stuff, right? So,
and this is about that cruiserweight thing that you were in.
Yes.
Cruiserweight Classic.
Yes.
Okay.
So then I told them, like, oh well, I wanted, like, at one point I wanted to give Zack Sabre the vertical in the corner where I stand on the second rope and vertical. Hold him up there forever and then suplex him as my high spot. And then they nixed it. And then the Uprocks loaded it. Like, I was so disgruntled about this. And it had nothing to do with that. Because after that fact, I also stated that it made perfect sense. And I totally understood. And I just switched it up. Because you're in a tournament. You got to go on longer and longer and longer. You can't be throwing a billion things and expecting it to catch. And, you got to kind of give them a little bit at a time.
Wait, but why would you tell these guys about, like,
God,
you just hindsight, you're an idiot, or?
Well, I guess. Well, you know me by now. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's that, like, I feel as though I was like, because I'm.
Did they ask you one little question, then you just went off about, like, your?
Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe it was. I think what it is I try to. I've always been in the kind of the teaching type role where I've always taught, I've always trained people, and I've always tried to give advice. Good advice, right? So I think that's what it was. Is they asked me something and I tried to enlighten them a little bit, right? And then it just blew up in my face so bad.
But the idea that you can't cross the border now, right?
I'm not banned. I am flagged. So anytime I come across, I can't be going on a show day, or there can't be. I can't work. I can't, like, go over and wrestling.
Something you've been doing. You've been going to America for years now.
For years, and I've been so straight up for, like, upfront with everybody every time going to the show. not going to make enough money to. It's all about gas and getting home, which is essentially the truth, right? Really.
And a nice steak dinner if you want it.
Yeah, right. Or,
But you'll spend that before you get back to Canada.
I'll be spending it here, getting groceries and stuff. I am giving back to you.
Right.
But I would always tell them that. And then the WWE thing came up. I got held at the border because of paperwork, because they're like, hey, where are you going? Why are you doing this? And then so we were told what to say. So I went and did it. And then I missed my first flight. I finally got on a second flight after being detained, went across, did my thing. The second time around, they know me. So as soon as I go up to the counter, they knew exactly who I was. So I got sent to secondary again. This time she said, I said, I'm not getting paid for this event because they were actually bringing me down to coach and stuff. So I said, I'm not taking a job away from anybody. I'm actually trying out for an actual job. And then she's like, well, the show, are people paying for tickets? And I'm like, yeah. He said, well, you can't come across. You're still taking money away from us. So now in the customs area, this is what they're saying every time.
To you or to everybody?
To everybody. And this
is known as the Tyson Dux law of 2016.
It seems to be so. It really does. Because I was supposed to do Rhino's charity show, which he puts on as a fundraiser, and 100% of all that money goes towards the veterans.
Him cleaning up.
Right.
Goes to cleaning supplies.
Giving
Windex.
it to the housekeepers that he's putting out of work is what it is. So he has his charity show, 100% goes. I went to cross, and they said no. I couldn't even cross for a charity show, which seems ludicrous.
Which is ludicrous to me is that the WWE has so much like power, and they and you correct me if I'm wrong, they got the rule changed that me as an American can now wrestle in Canada.
Right, I do believe so.
Yeah, so much power that they said, hey, wrestlers are performing artists, they can go over for free because Vince McMahon wanted to run Canada and get the tax breaks or whatever.
Much. Yeah, pretty much.
And so there was nothing they could do to get you back into America when they got you the first time.
Right.
Is there other Canadians coming over? For that tournament or that cruiserweight?
No, I was the only Canadian.
You were the only one.
Well, Herb and Gerv were on it.
Herb.
The Bollywood Boys. Let's go with that. That's way easier. But they had visas through
Global Force,
which got them across.
That's bizarre.
But that's also bizarre too, because I don't understand how the visa would act in a way that you have to go for a Global Force event, not for a WWE event. So that's shady, sticky stuff.
They could have lied.
Yeah.
Allegedly, we don't know.
Right.
I made that up.
Yeah, we don't know.
But they got over. And
they're still there.
The Tyson,
I'm sitting here.
Yeah, does that, I mean, I know, I don't want to say, especially after Upper X did that thing that put you in this horrible light, but one of the things that we had talked about a couple years ago was the idea of getting older, and probably realizing that okay, nobody's going to be calling, but I still want to do this really bad. Yeah. And then all of a sudden somebody does kind of call.
Yeah, they do call, which is crazy.
And you get this weird break at a later age. Yeah. And I think they would promote that you were the oldest, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The oldest.
So, I mean, before all this happens, what's your mindset going into that cruiserweight thing?
Going into it, I was I really just wanted to take away as much as I could from it. And so I was hoping to get called back down for coaching positions or anything, because that's the big thing now, right? Or just broadening my horizons everywhere else, both U.S. and afar.
So you saw it as a great commercial to hope to extend.
Exactly.
And get how I would probably see it. But obviously in your heart, you're well, maybe they'll be this guy should wrestle Randy Orton.
Right. This would be nice to finish out my career on a high note, where, somewhere at the biggest company in the world that you always dreamed of being, kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's back to not only now it's just stuck in Canada.
Now I'm in Canada, or Europe calls, or
well, where are you at? So where are you at emotionally with that? Have you dealt with that?
It was hard. I'm going to tell you right now, it was a very, very difficult, it's been a difficult summer. You know, but you can't stay down on it. I'll drive myself insane. I will drive myself insane. So the idea is just to kind of move on. And I'm starting to figure out it is nothing to do with me as a performer. It's not that I'm rotten. And that's always been the issue. Like, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not like good at what I do, which is completely not the case. Like, I finally coming to terms with the fact has nothing to do with my talent or my skills.
It's just everything's against you.
It seems the world is against me in every way, shape, or form. Like, I have no issues at all with and I don't blame anybody, and I would hope that everybody would succeed. I'm not looking like, oh, look at that guy, he made it, screw him, whatever. I've never been that guy.
Right, but so the game plan is now is like, well, I guess I'm a Canadian wrestler, and
Right.
I hope Toronto Championship Wrestling becomes the biggest thing in the world. Is that like all you could pray for?
I don't know, because I'm still, I don't know, because maybe that's the crazy now, because I'm still holding on to maybe there's hope. There is still hope. There is something that might happen, and it doesn't have to be WWE. It doesn't have to be but maybe somewhere in England, or maybe somewhere in Puerto Rico, or somewhere.
Yeah.
Something opens up that's big, and then I can put a huge deposit on my house, and then and then I will come to terms with it.
Did you find? It's kind of funny because you've always had these weird little spurts of things that could help your career. And I was going to ask, like, did you find it like helped your bookings, like, or your exposure being in that tournament? Yeah. But you've always had like you'll weirdly come up on TNA, or of course like those dark matches, or the Sunday Night Heat matches when you had 25 of them in a year. At that time, those were probably great for bookings, right?
Oh, amazing. I did so well back then. I did really, really well for myself.
And based off of being on WWE television as a jobber,
yeah,
or
just
enhancement
as a job
guy,
kid. Yeah, just being the job kid.
How does that go? How do you like boost business? Being the guy who wrestles Mortis and
oh my god, yeah, and like Canyon without the mask on, and so many. There's a plethora.
Red Dog. Did you wrestle Red Dog?
No, I never wrestled Red Dog. Mark Henry though,
yeah,
that was a great experience. He's so big. It's.
But like as an independent wrestler, how do you take? It's an interesting model of like, and this is like so many years ago because it's not because now, to be fair, like Alex Reynolds, who I love, who I think the world of, he was on 205 Live the other night, and like I don't know if that's going to move his booking needle. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it is nowadays.
Right, but in 2002,
when you have the little tag seen on WWE, it was a huge deal. Like, so my Canadian stuff went up, money went up because you were working for nothing before that, and then I got like everybody started to want to use me. I was a goofy dancing kid back then too, which is crazy because then people would still use me in that role, which is funny.
The weird character you made up on WWF television, right?
The little chicken dance boy.
Did that get on TV, or was that more of a thing?
That was on TV. That I actually had my own entrance music and everything. By the end of my run, when I got hurt, and some dude tweeted that the other day. Yesterday was the 13-year anniversary of when I blew out my knee on Velocity.
I get a lot. I get the Goldman notices.
Do you?
Yeah.
And then I messaged back. I'm like, hey, thanks for the memories, bud. And then poor Jindrak messages right underneath it, says, dude, I still feel bad about that. And I'm like, I don't want, you know what I mean? I'm like, and then I messaged him back. I said, dude, it's totally in the past. You got to stop feeling sorry for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't, we've moved on. Everything's good.
And the short story of that, which was covered in the first one, is essentially you did 4 years of enhancement work and we're basically ready to get called up.
Yep.
To WWE.
Yeah, right around that time I was supposed to be called up, and then I blew out my knee on TV.
Yeah. And you had your own entrance as the dancing guy.
Yep.
And then you would do the character in Canada. But do you think people were more booking you for the idea that they could put as seen on WWF television?
Yep.
Yeah. On their posters around town?
Exactly what they're doing.
Who is the king of like, I get to use this?
Oh my God. There was a small little company in northern Canada, and anytime they had a show, I was on that show. And then it got to the point where I was asking stuff that I like would ask nowadays, because it's just me being older and like got to make it worth my while kind of thing. So I need gas, I need this, I need you to pick me up, I need a hotel and all this stuff. And then this guy would keep doing it. And I'm like, wow.
Well, why did you ask him the first time for that? If you knew that you shouldn't have then.
Well, I don't know.
Did somebody tell you that you should?
Yeah, someone said like, "Oh, you got your moniker. You're like the main guy here. You got the little WWE logo right beside you. You should be asking for more." So I'm like, "All right, okay, maybe you're right."
And it kept on going.
And then you just kept piecing away, and eventually they dried up, or that guy got married, and real things came up.
Like that's the first thing is you got a thing, it dries up.
Yes,
And now see,
and then
I
you
knew I'd
move
find
on.
one. I
Yes,
knew I'd
because
find
that's
one.
how it goes.
And so in that one that was deleted, I remember it's kind of morbid, but we were talking about how you thought you were going to die.
Right
now, I think
you
should be dead now.
Right, I should be dead.
Yeah,
should be. Look at me, success.
Your father passed away, right? Or at a young age.
Yeah, 60. 60's not old. It's not young, but it's not old. Yeah,
but I kind of recall what we were talking about, and it was the fact that like you had kind of come to grips that you thought you were going to die young.
Yeah.
And what was that based on? I forget.
Oh man, I just thought that in my history, my family history isn't great. It isn't anything spectacular. So I've always come to terms with it. Even like a couple of years ago, like when we were doing that thing, I was actually coming to terms with the fact that there might be a chance that I could have cancer tomorrow and be gone within 2 years. And I came to the realization like, it's been a good run. I've done all right for myself.
I think this was based off of. I think we were talking about your kid in wrestling. If he wanted to get it,
yeah, I think so too. Yeah, right. Yeah, you got a better memory than me.
Yeah, and if he wanted to get into wrestling, I think it was the idea that I don't know if you wanted to like make sure he had everything ready to go in wrestling if you wanted to before you passed.
Right. And that's kind of the mindset of sometimes when I do wrestle is like, maybe I can pave the way a wee bit better, as long as I don't have colossal heat, maybe I can make his way easier than mine.
Because he's obsessed or no?
Obsessed.
Is he still obsessed?
Still obsessed.
And how old is he?
14.
And he's ready to do it yet, or?
He trained, like he'll do stuff with me now. He knows how to chain wrestle and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you assume he's going to get into wrestling?
I assume so. He's got and he's smart too. He's in this business. That kid is really, really smart. Like he understands psychology. And what I love about him, other than he's my boy, is the fact that he is completely different from me. So I enjoy technical wrestling. I enjoy like the little mannerisms, the little subtleties, and he's totally different. He enjoys the idea of bigger guys and how to get big reactions and why things stand out. He's all about the why that stood out. And I'm like, it boggles my mind. And then we'll have conversations. He'll come to the show. He'll be at the show today. He'll sit there and watch this whole show, and then I'll ask him on the way home, what did you think about, so tell me what you liked, what you
Colt
didn't
Cabana,
like.
and what did you dislike?
Right?
My father.
You know what?
He just does hammer locks.
He's such a, like, he's still, like, he'll say, your match was great, Dad. He'll always say that. I'm like, Ethan, come on. Let's be honest here. What did you think of that match? And he's like, well, that guy was kind of. I'm like, you know what I mean? You can say whatever you want. We're open. You can say whatever because I want to know what you feel, what you think. And he's really smart with it.
Do you use him as like a basis of like what's good sometimes?
I do. Nowadays, when it comes to anything, because he watches more of it on TV because at home with his mom, he watches the network. He's got it. So he'll watch it. I'm like, hey, what did you think? Or if he's got school the next day, I can't pick him up. So he's going to watch a pay-per-view and we'll text back and forth. I'm like, I just watched that match. What do you think?
Are you like, what are the kids into these days?
Right.
Who are they liking?
Yeah.
He says Enzo Amore.
Yeah. And then he'll roll his eyes. Like, he's like, because he loves the show part of it and he gets the show part, but he also likes like the savagery of it. He loves those big dudes that would crush people, Yokozuna and Big John Studd and Andre the Giant. Like he'll watch old tapes all day long.
Maybe that's just a weird like teenage fetish that he has.
Maybe.
Old dude crushing dudes.
Old dude crushing other dudes. Man crushing
Just
another
watching
man.
that Bastion Booger finisher over and over.
He absolutely hates Bastion Booger. Hates
No,
it.
I don't think so. He's just telling you that, but
know
he's
what?
secretly.
Maybe. Don't do this to me. Don't bring this to a dark place. This is a beautiful story.
Sorry.
And you're trying to get dark.
Okay, when you say this is a thing, you say that you like the technical wrestling, like the little
Yes.
things. I think if we all think that in a generalization, we would say, "Oh, that's Japanese wrestling." Would we say that?
Yeah, a lot of people would.
Right.
Yep.
And so probably a goal that you always wanted to attain.
Yes.
You did 0-1,
0-1 and then
All Japan.
Yeah.
But there's a handful of people who kind of end up doing, like Rocky Romero, 20 years in Japan.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And there's people who will just catch a couple tours.
Right.
And I'm kind of like that too. Like I was with Noah, but I wasn't like a full-time guy, and they'd take me every now and then.
Yep.
Like in your heart, were you like trying to be an All Japan regular, and was it disappointing when it kind of went away?
Yeah, you know what? When that fizzled out, I was it really bothered me because they asked me, please stay All Japan. So they were saying, don't jump ship.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with 0-1, and already, you know how they are. 0-1 wasn't booking me for like 2 years, and so All Japan picked me up. So now there's an issue, a little bit of an issue.
So everyone's like, he's our guy.
Yeah, he's our guy,
But we didn't use him for
like years.
Yeah.
So now with All Japan, I got the same thing. Please stay with All Japan. And now it's been 3 years, 4 years. I don't know. It's been a long time. And there's been no movement with All Japan.
But do you like as that fine when you stop getting that call a little bit, and of course preparing to go on those tours? Because I remember like you were dieting really hard, you were working really hard, like where the mindset is of just like. I thought this was the perfect connection for me. I thought this place was the perfect place for me.
And it was, and for me, it was. I loved the lifestyle, and I loved it. I loved every moment of it.
Would you have moved to Japan?
I would have.
With your did you think about those consequences?
I would have yanked them all over.
You would have brought the kids over.
I would have pulled them all over. I would have taken them all.
Would the wife have moved to Japan?
The ex-wife? No, she would not.
Well, where were you at the time of this thing?
I was divorced.
Right.
Yes, and not married. So I'm married now.
Yeah.
And now my ex would be as far away as
Right, of course.
Right,
Which
yes.
would be perfect for you to move to Japan. Yeah.
Perfect.
So in your head, you would have brought the kids to Japan.
I would have. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Crazy, right? A little bit nuts.
But you would have.
I would totally have done it.
But now and this is something I battle with a lot, is like, we think about that technical style or whatever, and that's like, we think about the, like, I don't know, the Super J Cup or something like that. Maybe not even like that. I don't know, whatever.
That's so old. What's
But I don't, well, that's what I'm saying. That's old, and now we're here in a new era where, I don't know. I mean, a guy like Zach, but Zach is so charismatic in the way, even though he does, you would say like, look, he's gotten this technical stuff over, or Dragon got the technical stuff over. Like, it doesn't have to be in Japan.
No, it doesn't.
Where I think we think, or that's again a generalization of like, that's where that stuff goes.
Yeah,
But you
yeah,
can
yeah.
kind of do anything anywhere, right?
You really can now. It's a totally different market.
And it
right?
is just-
everybody's kind of smart.
Right. It's only been in the last 5-10 years, maybe.
Yes. That it's getting like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in the last 5.
Right.
In the last 5, it's really become mainstream to be more educated on a grander scale. So, especially with independents, like, oh, you don't know who Will Ospreay is? You know? Like, everybody's like bashing this guy that just, I know who John Cena is. You know what I mean? But they don't get, I guess, it's almost like peer pressure to be more educated, I guess. And then everybody's more educated.
But do you see that as a good opportunity of like, oh, I don't have to go to Japan?
For me
Or you just
personally,
loved it?
I loved it. I just loved how everything flowed. I love the way business was done. I knew like you had to be at the bus at this time. I knew that we're going to make 2 stops. We're going to get to that next venue.
Well, that's the OC. You just love OCD.
Man, as structured as I could be,
Yeah.
in their structuring, I loved it. I could live there and like not give a care in the world. I really could.
Are you training? So I was going to say, are you training these days? But in that first talk, you truck drove for so long.
Yes, 10 years.
And now you're not.
No.
And we talked about how you were a truck driver and trying to make indie shows.
That was awful. It was like the worst. Yeah.
And so you're not doing that anymore.
No, don't do it anymore.
Couldn't be more happier.
Couldn't be happier. Honestly, I'm almost set for retirement when it comes to actual legit work. My wife is a nurse. She makes great money. I don't make any money. And daycare is so expensive. And then as soon as there's another kid, we've already discussed it. I'm like, well, I'm just going to be a stay-at-home dad.
Oh, I mean, you're retiring.
No,
But not because of your fortunes.
No, not because I'm a multimillionaire and wiping my my napkins are $100 bills.
Right.
It's because
The lifestyle.
Right?
Is set up for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the dream of an independent wrestler.
No, it's not.
To be a stay-at-home dad.
It's absolutely not. It's probably not. And it's not that I dislike it or I am begrudging about it, but it makes more sense. Why would I work as many hours as I do right now, personal training people, and it's exhausting? Why would I do that and just give all that money to daycare so the kids can get every sickness known to man and someone else teach them stuff? So
when you could just do the daycare.
Well, I could just.
So are you a good dad? Are you doing dad stuff? Were you wiping butts?
Listen, when I blew out my knee, I took care of those two boys from the moment they were little guys, and they were my guys.
You got it down.
Yeah, I got it down.
You got it down.
Yeah, same with this guy. Easy peasy.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's just I can do all that stuff,
And then
because it's about structure. It's the same thing, right? We're talking about structure. So I'm all about structure. So at this time, and I got it down. So it's easy.
And then so fathering, and then still trying to just pick up Canada bookings. Essentially,
I'm trying. Honest to God, I am trying right now to get overseas. So because I know it's still hot over there, and I worked with enough guys over here in Canada, the UK guys, that I've got at least a good rapport with those guys that I'm trying to branch over because it's hotter over there. It's hot right now.
Man, WWE should put you in the UK.
Why not?
Division. I wonder if they're gonna. I wonder if it's only gonna be UK guys.
Why couldn't it be like the Crown? You know what I mean? Because we're all part of it.
I was gonna say, isn't Canada part of UK?
Yes.
In what way?
In what way? Is we're the Commonwealth. It's called the Commonwealth.
That's what it is.
We still got her on. Our queen is on the coins and everything.
Throw the guy a bone.
Yeah, throw a dude a bone.
That's all we ask.
Yeah, those kids are really talented, and I love that they're a lot of them are very unique, very different. It's kind of neat. It's a neat style.
And soon is the day where they do the WWE Canadian territorial.
Listen, I'll be 100 years old. There ain't nobody coming up to the north when they have.
Why not? It's the same idea. I wonder if that's been thought about. Because these little towns that no one's running, you throw their name on it, people will come.
You would think so, but I can also see the mentality of we already have the states, and they'll just come to us. A lot of times they cross the border. If you're in Toronto, you're going to go to Buffalo.
Yeah, but if you're in these shows that I did with Danny Duggan, where you're in,
right? They're not going to go up there.
Why not?
Colt, there's no way they're going to go up there. Absolutely not.
Those people. I mean, there was for some of those shows. There was a show that was 500 people.
Right.
Imagine if that was just for me and fucking. I don't even know who. I was the closest thing to a name, and I wasn't a name.
Right.
Imagine if you put that label of WWE on something. They'll come from all over.
Yeah, you could be right. You could be right, but I don't know. I don't know if it would. I don't know if it would stick here.
You know it better than I do.
It's such a big country.
Do a WWE Hell Tour of Saskatchewan.
Oh my God, you imagine? Just for the footage alone of people losing their minds, it would be totally worth it.
Yeah, it'd make for good content on their network.
Yeah. Yes. I don't think it would. It would be terrible. People would be going insane watching it because people would be losing their minds on those kind of tours.
Why?
They're awful.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Yeah, I know.
That's what reality television is.
Yeah, but could they actually handle it? Could they actually handle
watching it or being in it?
Both.
Well, maybe not handle being in it. I don't see.
Seriously.
I don't see Heath Slater wanting to drive across.
There is no way.
Ice.
Heath Slater
for $25
is going to go for $25 across a slab of ice.
But I'll watch it
and risk falling in.
I'll watch it all day.
Yeah, of course.
That is something I will watch.
Yeah.
And hopefully you get to be the guy driving the truck and selling the foam fingers.
Listen, man, I got booked. I gotta go.
Yeah. Where are you at on the internet?
Tyson Dux at Tyson Dux for Twitter, and that's also Instagram. I like posting stuff. That's what I like. All my info is on there. My Gmail and all that jazz. If you want to get a hold of me,
Good.
especially in the UK.
And you were a Vine user.
I was just to watch your stuff. That's the only reason I
And
went
you
on.
just asked me. Please ask me what you asked me before we turn on these mics.
I asked you, like, if you had any connection of, like, your business being on Vine.
No, that's not what you asked me.
I know.
You
Okay.
asked me if I owned Vine.
I asked you if you had a part of it.
If I had a piece of Vine.
Yeah, because you're like my most successful friend. So Scott, I guess, but
Yeah, as we're in Scott Demore's giant house right now.
mansion.
And Rhino, who's
right, but you never see that from Rhino. Like he buys pop at 67 cents and he loses his mind when it goes up to 80 cents. Come on, it's totally a different
man
thing.
after my own heart. No, I don't have a piece of Vine.
No, okay, all right.
Go on.
I was trying to make it a more educational or seem as though I knew what I was talking about.
No.
I had no idea.
Like I was the owner or I had a piece of Vine.
I thought you had stock in the company, honestly did. And I wanted to get the inside scoop of why Vine is no more.
Well, you could just go on Google, but
I don't do this Google thing. I'm 38. We have discussed this at length of my age. I'm almost 40. So when I turn 40, we're having a big party and you're going to have to come up.
and I'm going to have to pay for everything.
You're going to have to come up. Yeah.
I'll bring up Vine. I'll bring it back. And we'll make big money and we'll pay for your party.
We're going to try.
Thanks for being on again, bud.
Hey, it was a pleasure.
All right, Tyson still plugging away, still loves wrestling. We miss him over at AIW, and hopefully I can make it out to more Smash and Border City shows and hang out with Tyson Dux. I know he was doing some What Culture stuff. That might have been the British stuff that he's doing. So that's the story of a wrestler who hustles and struggles and still gets it done for the love of professional wrestling. Tyson, thanks for being on. All right, before we get out of here, let's get into some plugs and
Upcoming events.
All right, the best way that you can support ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com, Twitter and Instagram at Colt Cabana, Facebook /AOW Podcast, also /Colt Cabana. My storytelling podcast, Pro Wrestling Fringe, plus past archives of the show, including the old one with Tyson Dux. They're ad-free and they're on howl.fm/Colt. Use the code Colt, get yourself a free month. ColtWrestling@gmail.com, my very public email. Also, I got a YouTube channel, always throwing stuff up there. ColtCabana.com is my website where you can send stuff to my P.O. Box. Upcoming Saturday, June 10th, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. IWCWrestling.com. Sunday, June 11th, Old Forge, PA. Powerbomb.tv. Watch it for free with a 10-day trial if you're not in Old Forge. Then after that, I'm going to Australia. June 16th, 17th, 18th, 23rd, 24th, Brisbane, Sydney, Perth, Melbourne, Adelaide. Houseofhardcore.net. To the best of my knowledge, I am doing live podcasts at the Sydney Supernova and at Melbourne on the 22nd. Bug House of Hardcore to find out that information. July 8th and 9th, Newport and Cardiff, Wales. tinyurl.com/comedy wrestling Newport. Also /comedy wrestling Cardiff. Saturday, July 15th, Marinette Park, Illinois, aawrestling.com. Saturday, July 22nd, Austin, Texas, wrestlecircus.com. Sunday, July 23rd, Gainesville, Florida, festwrestling.com. August 4th through the 27th. Every single night, 10:20 p.m., the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, edfringe.com. And if you're a promotion, I'm going to be doing some wrestling if I'm close enough to get home in time for the show. Hit me up. You know the email. I just told you. All right, that is the show for this week. Big thank you to you guys at home. Thanks to Tyson Dux for coming on the show. Thanks to Cable Guy Jeff and Stu Stone, Kid Russell, Matt Jenkins on the music, Dane Miller and Creaky with tech help. We do have some sponsors I'd like to thank. HighSpots.com, an amazing VOD service, plus AMA knee pads, gear, mask, a wrestling ring. Go get trained at High Spots if you're in North Carolina. OneHourTees.com, they help run pro wrestling. Crate.com, they help run pro wrestling. Tees.com. Support your favorite independent wrestler directly. And tweakedaudio.com/Colt earbuds that I use. Get over 30% off and free shipping just because you listen to this show. I've weirdly found myself with a weird case of the hiccups. So I'm done recording. That was one. You can't hear a hiccup, I guess. But you get the idea. All right, this has been The Art of Wrestling for Colt Cabana. Oh, there it is. I'm Colt Cabana. Thanks.
Colt Cabana, boom, boom. Colt Cabana, boom, boom. Colt Cabana, it's Colt Cabana.